creative given the times that we are in. We watched a feature of Tony Macau, and this is an actor who has had to now become a fruit and vegetable vendor just by, becoming creative because, of course, the industry right now is almost going dead. However, we have had artists that have become very creative and have come up with online content and different ways of doing things. We've seen concerts that have been done online, on Instagram, on Facebook, and all social media platforms. However, there, of course, remains a question of whether this can be regulated and how this can be, checked out, because, of course, there are those who might tend to go overboard. So this morning, we are joined by Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, who is the CEO for the Kenya Films and Classification Board. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Mutua. First of all, apologies. I know that we had scheduled to have this at 8, but we had a few, issues here and there that have necessitated us to do this. So thank you for your patience and for your time. So apologies for that, Dr. Mutua.
Yeah, that's okay, Mike. Good morning.
Morning to you. So let's get straight into it. And of course, like mentioned, there are those artists who have come out and are doing a great job by being creative and ensuring that they still keep their fan base entertained and engaged and, try and make a living out of this. Of course, we are living in very hard times right now, given COVID-19. So maybe let's start from there. Your thoughts on, how it has been handled so far?
I think necessity, is the mother of creation and innovation.
The mother of invention.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yes. Necessity is the mother of innovation, and I think the creatives in Kenya and all over the world have come of age. COVID-19 is a global pandemic, and I think if there's an industry that is badly affected, it is the creative economy, because most of these guys, like you've seen from the previous guests, rely on events, rely on crowds, rely on social gathering, and with all these restrictions on social distancing and avoiding crowds and so on. I think people are now to move to the new way of doing things, and what COVID-19 has done is to teach us new ways of doing things. We have to change, and we've seen a lot of artists who have been able to move from the traditional way of doing things, which is not possible right now, having gigs and crowds and social gatherings, to moving online. I think there's a show I saw by Nyashinsky that attracted about 150,000 people, which is more than what you would have attract in a physical gathering. So I think that innovation and a new way of doing things is what we've got to adopt, and that's what the creatives have to do.
All right, so of course with that now brings in the question of regulation, because we do know that some are likely to go overboard, particularly given that we already have, rules and regulations, and you've been very vocal and very, in the front line of ensuring that people don't cross the line, albeit within, the regulations and the Constitution. Your thoughts on this, because we've had some who have also, had content that would leave, some parents literally wondering whether we are still in control.
Well, I think regulation of the internet is always a challenge globally. What we are doing is to raise the levels of awareness among the different stakeholders, and also collaboration between government agencies, those who regulate the internet, those who regulate the internet service providers, and Communications Authority of Kenya, and ourselves, the content regulators, to ensure that while we enjoy freedom of expression, that freedom is not used by artists to create obscene and unpalatable content, particularly right now, because children are at home. Children have gadgets as a matter of necessity because they need to use the iPhones and iPads for their studies. And so we've got to be careful so that we do not expose them in a harmful way. So what we are doing with as a board is to collaborate with the Communications Authority of Kenya and other organizations, first to ensure that there is constant monitoring of what kind of content they are creating. and that that content that is likely to come during the watershed period, which is between 5 in the morning to 10 in the evening, is moderated to ensure that it is suitable for family viewing, because children have access to gadgets, children are at home, schools are closed, and it's only fair that even those who are distributing and exhibiting content adhere to the rules of the watershed period. So the challenge is regulating the internet, because there is no watershed for the internet. Content will fly anytime, and anytime anyone can access. And what we are saying is those who are doing adult content then must be very careful to ensure that it doesn't affect our children. So there's collaboration between our government agencies. There's the level of awareness that you are doing as a board, to tell parents, please observe what your kids are watching, monitor, ensure that you engage them, and that ensure that they have digital literacy. They understand that technology is a double-edged sword, and they don't utilize their time to engage in inappropriate behavior or to engage technology in the wrong manner. But the parents have a role. But then there's also the issue of creatives themselves adhering to the rules of the game and ensuring that they do not use this opportunity in migration now to technology to destroy children or to destroy moral values.
All right. So from your end, is there any regulation that you're able to do from the KFCB, particularly now to the artists? Like you mentioned, internet is challenged to regulate. We have content that is local. We have content that is coming from that we have no control over. But for the artists that are doing their content locally, is there any way that one is able to ensure that if they're going to have adult content, that they do it past, within the time that is allocated, which is past watershed?
Mike, I'll tell you, we have a lot of support from the industry itself, because nobody wants to create content that does not, is not appreciated by government and by the consumers. As a board, we exist for the consumer. And our role is to ensure that we protect children from exposure to harmful content. We know from experience and statistics that content that sells is content that is suitable for all family. And therefore, the level of awareness that we are creating, the engagement with the stakeholders, I think is helping a great deal in making them understand that you sell more when you can attract the market that is bigger. And that market is the market that is family suitable. The content that can be viewed by all family, that I can watch in the house, I can watch in the car, I can watch, in the office and so on. And so even that understanding itself is a deterrent that creating dirty content, obscenity, may appeal to a small group of people, but it does not translate to money. And in the long term, what you require is money, right? Like now the 100 million COVID support fund to the creatives that the president announced, and that was launched by the Minister for Sports, Arts and Heritage yesterday.
All right, and of course, that's another subject and aspect that we'd like to look at shortly, and that is to do with the 100 million that the president promised to artists. And just to look at some of the feedback that's coming through, remember the hashtag is KTN Morning Express if you'd like to maybe weigh into the conversation, or you would like to send in a question maybe to Dr. Ezekiel Mutua. I can see whether to pose it to him, particularly if you're in the entertainment or artist industry and maybe you feel there's certain things that KFCB needs to step in and ensure that they are done and done right. We have Boss who says, tuned in. One of these days, the nation will understand how many bombshells you detonated before they exploded. God bless you. I believe that is somebody who is sending a message that is referring to the KFCB CEO, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, who we are talking to. Everything done by politicians, I guess this is now in regards to the question that we had before, and that is in matters politics. But right now, we are looking at the plight of artists. We are looking at what artists have had to resort to in ensuring that they stay afloat, that they have income, that they are able to still make ends meet. However, of course, there's the question of regulation and ensuring that the content that children are going to view is content that is applicable to them. And the challenge, like Dr. Ezekiel Mutua has mentioned, is internet is not regulated. regulated. So, of course, we are going to have to rely on parental guidance, coming through from the parents. And of course, I'm going to have him maybe let us know what his advice is on that. But there's also the money that was promised by government, by the president, that should have already been dispersed to the artists. But there was also questions of how that is going to be done, who receives what, how they're going to get that. We have Dr. Mutua, who is going to be joining us in just a bit. We are just trying to reconnect. And regulations of the internet is a global challenge, as he had mentioned. And he says that we are collaborating with the Communications Authority that to ensure that government agencies are monitoring what children are watching. Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, of course, this is a time where everybody must be part of the conversation. Your thoughts on the role that parents and guardians have on children, because to expect KFCB to regulate everything is going to be a tall order, particularly given the challenge that you've mentioned of the internet not being regulated. What message do you have to parents and guardians? All right, Dr. Mutua, I think your microphone might not be on. If you can just check if your microphone on Zoom is on.
Yes.
We're not getting you. There you go. You're on now. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're getting you loud and clear. That question again is, what advice do you have to guardians and children? Because to expect KFCB to regulate everything is going to be a tall order. And this, by the way, is the new normal.
You are right, Mike. Government cannot be everywhere. Even the police cannot be everywhere. And therefore, there is the role of the guardian and the role of the parent. It's a stakeholder engagement that we must apply if we are going to keep our children safe, particularly during this COVID-19. Because, Mike, I suspect we're going to be in this for a long time.
Right.
And it's better we get used to discipline, get used to working together, get used to playing by the rules and ensuring that all of us play our role so that we can keep our children safe, because we don't know how long this is going to take. And so parents must monitor what their children are watching. Parents must create safe spaces for their children. Parents must engage. And I think those who are buying iPhones, those who are buying gadgets and giving them to their children for purposes of studies or even entertainment, must ensure that children understand the dangers that come with technology, the bullying, the pedophilia, the kind of dirty content that you are likely to come across in the internet. And therefore, this is the duty. This is the time when we need to collaborate. The time when the parents, because they are also at home, the parents need now to take their responsibility and work with their children and ensure that they help them to understand the dangers that come with technology. So mine is to ask the parents to monitor what their children are watching, ensure that they create safe spaces, and ensure that during this COVID-19 lockdown, when children are at home, the usage of gadgets is appropriate and that access to technology is monitored and the kind of content that they watch is content that is approved by their parents.
All right. Now, one of the areas that artists have, complained about is just the area of ensuring that there's intelligent, that there's protection of their material. And this is by virtue of making sure that there is that people pay, royalties for the creatives. Otherwise, they're not able to make money. Looking at where we are now, how do we see that panning out? Because going online has a risk element of the fact that people will watch without necessarily paying. How do we, navigate that to ensure so that we make sure that the creatives also stay afloat and earn from their creativity?
Mike, like I said, necessity is the mother of innovation. As a result of this COVID-19 and the fact that there is no physical transaction, now we have to learn a new way of doing things. And this applies not just to creatives, but to all manner of businesses. So business is moving online. We are going technology. And this is something that we've been preaching since digital migration. I think now it has come to bear, and all of us must be innovative. And I think different organizations, including banks, including the collective management organization, CMOs, and the government agencies like ECOBO and so on, are collaborating to create the infrastructure that can ensure that those who consume content online are able to pay. The same is happening with Safaricom, with Skiza Tunes, and all those agencies. And therefore, creatives who are involved in creation, distribution, and even broadcasting of content through any platform, be it online or even on TV, will find a way of ensuring that the royalties accrued from the artistic works and the creative works then is paid to the rightful owners. The president has been very keen on this, and I think through the Minister of ICT, and you've seen the minister articulating these issues, and now KECOBO is, or Kenya Corporate Board is now under the Ministry of ICT. The whole idea is to ensure that there is infrastructure that helps the artist from the point of creation to distribution to exhibition, and that entire value chain is monitored in a way that people can monitor and gain from their creating works.
Okay.
So there's no chance that they are going to lose. It's a question of collaboration between Kenya Corporate Board, the Ministry of ICT, and the artists themselves to ensure that even those who are consuming the works online, they are able to pay. And I think the system is working. They just need to collaborate and get in touch with KECOBO, and the KECOBO will guide them.
All right. Finally, as we finish, Dr. Mutua, the 100 million that the president promised, what message do you have to artists? We've had some complaining that that money has not reached them, despite the president, announcing that. What message do you have to them?
I advise them to be patient. The government systems work slowly, but the government delivers. Yesterday, the CS for Sports, Arts and Heritage launched the program. I mean, there was the announcement, but we had to put policies and structures in place so that this can benefit everybody. And that program was launched yesterday by CS Amina. It's now possible for people to reach out to the ministry and the agencies of government that are working on this and ensure that they are able to get the money. It's not going to be free money. It's going to be money that is going to be used for people who are creating positive messages. And as a board, we have said our role will be to ensure that regulation is applied, that those who are not obeying the rules do not benefit from this money. People who are creating content to destroy values, to destroy our culture are not part of this. This is money meant for people who are creating inspirational, positive content that is going to help people cope with COVID-19. It is a COVID-19 relief fund for the creatives. It's not free money. So if you're not creative, don't expect it to come to your house.
How do you gauge? How do you measure creativity? How do you measure that one is creative, then the other is not?
I mean, we like I've told you, there are those Wambla-based fellows. I mean, that's not content that we are going to reward.
But that content has a following. There are people who consume that.
Well, unfortunately, the government does not reward criminology. If you are going to create, follow the law. If you want to create a audiovisual, apply for a filming license from KFCB. Ensure that once you create your content, it's rated. If there are people who consume that, it must be rated appropriately for that audience, and there will be no problem if it's rated by the board. But don't push content that is for adult children or break the law and expect the government to support your creativity. We expect everybody who is involved in this to learn the rules that govern the creative economy, to learn the rules that govern about Cap 222, the Films and Stage Plays Act, and ensure that they follow those rules. I always say, Mike, it's not just the artists who are creatives, the guys who do mechanic, the guys who do carpentry, they are creatives as well. And when they are getting into that business, they understand the rules that govern that sector.
Dr.
And so
Mutua,
those who want to benefit from this money must understand the rules that govern the creative economy. Cap 222, that you need, if you are creating audiovisual, you need a filming license. If you're going to create it online, we are not going to be punishing people who are creating with their phones and using tools, because we are encouraging people to be creative. But it must be appropriate for the audience that you are targeting.
Thank you, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua. Because of time, we'll have to wind up right there. Thank you very much for giving us your time and, joining us this morning. That's Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the CEO for Kenya Films and Classification Board. And today we've been looking at creatives and what they have had to do to, stay afloat, given the times that we are living in of COVID-19. So just before we wind up, Trix, maybe just to get your feeling, particularly now that you went round with Tony just to, see how he's getting along. I must say that he's one very brave artist.
I think it's inspirational that he would do whatever it takes to put food on his table, and I think that's something everyone, irrespective of whether they're creators or not, should emulate. If you need to get your revenue flow going, do whatever you need to do. I think that's the best we can take out of that story of Tony Makau, and thank you so much to Tony for, exposing us to his hustle in that way.
All right, well, it's that time where we wind up the show, and thank you very much for watching Morning Express this morning. I take this opportunity to wish you all a fantastic and a wonderful day. God bless. My name is Michael Gitonga.
And I'm Trix Ingado. Remember to stay safe and have a productive day ahead.